I'm going to show you my easy method to drawing characters fast. There are a few steps you need to follow if you want to get it right. So draw with me as we tackle illustrating the Hulk. I'm going to show how I use that same core for a large scale character. So I'm going to lock this in chest area right here, ab, pelvic area. And now I know where I'm going to go with this. So I'm going to put his head here, somewhere in this region. The clavicles here. The lower part of the chest is going to be somewhere around here. Rib cage is going to be somewhere around here. Sockets is going to be around here. And now this is the pelvic area, and this, he's running and jumping. I'm going to have an arm in this region, and I'm going to have the other arm back here in this region like this. Then let's say I want his foot to be somewhere around here, knees somewhere around here, and I'm going to connect. Now this strategy is something I use a lot, which is basically you're trying to draw an object, you're trying to draw someone's arm, and that arm that you're trying to draw, you're thinking, okay, I get the idea of the energy going across this way, but where does this end? Where does this end? Where does this end? So I just quickly draw certain large shapes just to kind of establish these joints, and then you connect them. At this point, I can look at this and decide, do I like it or do I not like it? Am I getting the correct feeling out of who the Hulk is at this stage? I feel like it's a okay pose, but it hasn't really grabbed me yet. A lot of the drawings that you're going to do, it's a lot of pushing and pulling. So you move 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You keep doing that until you fine tune and gets closer and closer to what you're looking for. Bicep, hands, forearms. There it is. Okay. See, constant back and forth, cleaning it up, making sure you know what you're doing, staying loose. And I'm not moving really fast. I'm not moving hard. I'm not locking anything in place. And this center line that I drew here before, I realized it's off, so I'm going to move it. So you move it over here to the side because nothing's locked in place. Now I have a better sense. This one's capturing me a little bit more. I'm getting a little bit more of a oomph type of nice feeling from this. It feels energetic. It's well balanced, and certain areas like these negative spaces that's over here, I'm going to fill it with something as I'm going. Still not 100% locked in, but I am getting a better sense of, okay, I just built this roadmap and now I'm going to get on this road and travel. In the premium course, you'll gain access to all lessons on drawing characters, designing groups of characters, and how to get a team of characters that look similar to be visually distinct. Improve your character design skills at proko.com/marvel. I'm going to start working on some design work. So I'm trying to think already. I know his arms are going to be here, thinking patterns, but I don't want to get too far from his anatomy. So I'm going to try to stick with the human anatomy that he has, but just cover it and skin it with something a little bit cooler. So as I'm concepting, like I said before, I'm not locking it all in place. Just throwing shapes down so I can get a sense of where am I going with this. I want to make this arm or whatever he's carrying feel like it's energized. So I'm thinking lightning bolts, I'm thinking bright lights, bright colors. That's what I'm thinking over here with this arm right here. Quickly establish where I think his eyes will go. His nose, cheek, chin. This is just general areas right now. So, yeah, if you're having problems being consistent with your pages, that's an issue because you have to be consistent. When you're drawing a comic book and you're drawing Captain America or you're drawing Thor, you want Captain America on page 1 to look like Captain America on page 17. And how do you do it is by sticking with your primitives and sticking with the core shapes that we all use every single day when we're drawing. Once you understand the eye sockets, cheeks, the jaws and nose, the head, and you can do it at any angle, all you have to do is just skin it with whatever character you're drawing. And watch how I draw hands. A lot of people have problems drawing hands. So I'm thinking the cube, and then from here, I can go ahead and pull fingers out. And usually I'll start with like the middle fingers. They're the longest ones, and they're right here. So once you pull them out like this, then you can pull out the rest on the sides and then the thumb somewhere in that region. I kind of have a good idea of where this is going to go. I'm acting the Hulk. I am thinking of the silhouette. I'm thinking this is what the Hulk would look like. This is his shape. This is his arms. This is his head. These are the proportions of the Hulk. You're not seeing me go, Hulk smash. I'm going to show you another level of what I'm thinking. All right. But I'm thinking of his head because I know his head is going to be somewhere in this region. But I'm looking at the size comparison of his head compared to his midsection, because the Hulk is a pretty big guy. The other parts I'm looking at is the size of his arm. But I'm not looking at it individually, I'm looking at it as one giant piece, like that. One giant piece. Now, I'm looking at the other arm, and since the hand and the forearm is in front of the bicep and the shoulder, I'm not concerned about the bicep and shoulder. I'm concerned about what's immediately in my face, which is basically this area right here. So I'm thinking of this large area right here. Now the same thing with the leg. Here I'm thinking of this large shape right here with this leg. The back leg, I'm thinking of the small shape back here. And then his foot is part of this piece right here. So if you pull out, you pull back, and you just look at these large shapes here. This is what I'm seeing. Basically, if I squint my eyes, like when sometimes some artists when they're painting or they're doing like large pieces, they'll kind of sit back and squint their eyes, or they'll use a pencil to kind of help them measure certain things. So basically that. So if I squint my eyes and I look at this is what I'm literally seeing, these large shapes. So this helps with me establishing who the character is. Who is the Hulk? The Hulk is going Hulk smash, and he's jumping and he's doing this. So you want to think of that. But you don't think of the individual pieces. You think of the large shapes, and you try to establish what would the Hulk look like if he was a giant blob with no definition, no eyes, no teeth, just large shapes. And then you can break it down further and further and further until you get more and more and more and more details in there. So whenever I'm drawing, one of my core beliefs is that I always try to lock in the eyes. The eyes is where you see the world. This is where you've taken most of the information around you. So this is how you transfer energy. I always try to lock in the eyes first. If I capture the eyes, everything bleeds out of that. So lock in the eyes, lock in the angle of the head. Once you establish the eyes, the nose, and then the teeth, that's the expression. You got it. Now that expression tells you the rest of the story. So I locked it in. So I locked in the eyes, nose, mouth. Now I get a sense of, oh, this is the mood he's in. This is the character. This is what he's going to do. This is how he's going to react. And it tells you a story. And then you have a feeling when you look at it. When it's final, it's inked and it's colored, and you're looking at it at your comic store, and you're looking at the page, it's like there's a feeling as you capture it. And it's all coming straight from the face, and everything bleeds from that, from the face, the eyes, the teeth. How I capture expressions is sometimes I'll just look in the mirror and just act it out. Just pretend, what am I doing? What's the expression I'm looking for? Is it sad face? Is it are they happy? Are they angry? All these different faces you want to put in there. So I'll just look in the mirror, or I'll just use my phone, take pictures of myself while I'm doing certain things at certain angles. And then that helps me, get a sense of it. Sometimes I'm not looking for me, I'm looking for someone else, like a different person in that expression. So I'll just Google it. I'll just get online and just Google a specific expression from the specific type of person I'm looking for. If it's a male, it's a female, and usually it pops up. I'm like, okay, that's close enough. That's something, I'm looking for something in that range, and that helps me lock it in. It basically helps me figure out, okay, are my eyes in the right area? Are they the right size? Compared to the nose, compared to the forehead, the bridge of the eyes, all that stuff, your cheeks. And then once you kind of figure that side of it out, you just pick up your pencil and start drawing. It blows my mind how vast this industry is and how small it is at the same time. You know, that's one of the things that really blows my mind. And there's all these techniques, and the technology that's out there gives us as artists the capabilities to expand even further. And if you know how to draw and you understand the medium that you're working with, and you can see this technology and you have access to it, and then there's an audience, you combine all that together, you're unstoppable. Use all the tools around you to get to your goal, because it's a concept thing. You're trying to mix mash and get something right and push in a direction.
The way we learn to become better artists has evolved too. Like, this course has all the core information you need to go pro.
I didn't have problems drawing hands, but I thought I was okay. I thought I was like a master at drawing hands when I was like 21. And I was like, oh yeah, I got this. This is easy. And then I remember trying to draw it without erasing at all. I can't pick up the pencil, just down and just go and just knock it out. I was like, ooh, I'm making mistakes. Ooh, I'm making mistakes. What helped me was learning 3D. When I learned how to build stuff in 3D, it gave me another perspective on how to draw hands and feet, because to take a box and turn it into a shape of a foot with veins in toes, it's like, wow, okay, now you see how you subdivide and subdivide and subdivide and subdivide until you actually have something that looks recognizable and cool. Like, this is a hand, and the hand itself is, this is expression right here. You're telling a story. You can tell a story with just the hands doing this. There's panels with just hands. You know, you can tell so much with your hands. And the way how I do it is lock in this palm part, and then you pull the fingers out. That's it. Lock this in first.
Remember, when you're approaching drawing a character, you have to think about who the character is and what the character is doing. Act it out. If you have to get a mirror, look at the mirror and act it out and get a sense of who it is, do it. It's all about getting into the mood of it. If you're not into the mood of it, you're not going to capture that character. And stay loose and stick with your primitives. And don't forget the human core.
So I'm going to show how I draw in reverse. Basically, you just draw with your eraser. This is basically it. What I'm doing is that I'm using the eraser to create these negative lines, basically just white areas, and I'm just going to go back and clean it up. The same way you would draw with a pencil, but I'm just doing it with an eraser, and I'm just making it a little bit cleaner. Now, since this is the energized arm or energized mechanical glove, I'm going to try to import or bring in mechanical faceted type of designs, but I'm not going to draw it with a line. I'm going to draw it with an outline. I'll show you here in the corner. Instead of I'm drawing like a line, I'm going to just outline like a little opening like that. And that kind of creates this hollow line to make it look like it's not a solid line. It makes it look like an effect line. If you look at some of this energy, I don't create these shapes out of any visual libraries or any specific direction. It's just random shapes that I'm doing. It's part of what I teach, which is just scribble and then you outline it, all right? And then you render from it. This style, this pattern is the same thing I'm doing over here, but I'm just doing it, you know, a little bit slightly different. I'm kind of rendering with an eraser and I'm shooting in one direction versus all over the place. You know, like all this energy pattern is actually going in like a specific direction. But other than that, it's just a dark area with a bunch of random lines and just making something cool out of it. That's basically it. So if you look at a lot of the Hulk anatomy that I'm doing right here, it's very much based off of real anatomy, real people, but I'm modifying and I'm pushing it into a specific look, a specific character. What I would recommend if anyone's struggling with anything like that is to study real life, real pictures. That's probably the best way you want to make a connection. You can make a connection by looking at a photograph and trying to draw it, but you make a different connection by looking at an actual human being and trying to draw that. So I would go towards the human being first before I go towards trying to draw from referencing like a picture. When you have a real life person, it's just you and the person right in front of you, so you just connect immediately. So I would recommend, if you guys taking any life drawing classes, then you do some still life, do some poses, do some character designs, character art.
and just try to pull as much of that from real people. So after I have the layout done and I've gone in and done all the cleanup on the line work, on the contour lines, and then the constant pushing forward, 2 steps forward, 1 step back by adding some shadows, some dark areas and rendering and cross-hatching. You keep doing that and keep going until you're constantly polishing all the little tiny little areas on your piece. Another thing I like to do is just stepping away from my work for a little bit. It could be a minute, it could be 10 minutes, it could be whatever. Just pull your eyes away from the work, go look at something, go have a walk, go do something real quick and come back to it. And then you instantly see a lot of mistakes. I want to point out my approach to how I'm texturing the characters. So here's this character. He has a metal arm and he has, cloth pants and, maybe a skin tight suit or something. So I'm thinking of a couple of different things. I'm thinking of just a standard base way of rendering certain things. So I basically bounce off of that and then I'll use that as the core. And then I'll push it in other directions, meaning here's this metallic arm here, right? But metallic arm has patterns in there. So, and it's energized. So I don't want to put too much rendering in there. So I'm just going to keep it pretty simple, pretty open. And I'm just going to point out just the different, ridges and facets, that's inside this armor to this metallic piece. But the further up it gets closer to the shoulder, there's less energy. So I'm going to start to render a little bit more in this area. Now, I didn't want the armor to be too reflective. I could have went in that direction. If I did, I would have rendered it a little bit different. But I wanted to have a little bit more gray area, a little more scratchiness and a little more roughness to it. So a good rule is the more grungier and rougher you want it to go, the more lines you want to apply to it. That's what I did. So I just applied a little bit more lines in this area versus over here, more render lines over here. Now, so here I came to the pants over here, and as you can see, I put this entire back leg in the shadow. So since it's in the shadow, I could have went back and erased some of the bright areas to show the creases in the pants. It looks better to me if I just immediately draw right on top of that. So I just went in and just drew some lines in here. This is going to create some creases in here. If you look at the render lines on the front leg, it's mostly open because he does have a purple pants, so purple is a darker color, but there's a lot of light that's hitting it, so I don't want to put too much dark shadows in there, so I'm just going to keep it open. So all my rendering is going to be in the gray areas. I'm just going to throw some lines that's going to go back and forth and just create this gray area that's in it. When it comes to the skin, it's very similar to what I did with the pants, except I created this really dark area because I'm looking for a contrast. So I have this heavy shadow over here and the brighter area on this side because I want to show that there's light coming in from this direction going into this direction here. So it helps just to look at, just to balance it out. And if you look at it, there are these beats. When you go from dark to light to dark, to light, to dark, to light, to dark, to light, and it just helps just to tell this story. And then if you look at there's some dark areas, there's a major dark area up here with some lights that's popping out and from his head. There's another major dark area, another major dark area, and this just also helps with just balancing things out and making it look a little bit cooler and bringing your entire story to life. Number one thing you want to look out for is the composition, the core. Where does this character live on this piece of page that you're trying to draw the character on? You're drawing one character on one giant piece, treat it as a cover. As you're drawing, lay down the core first. The core will lock the character on that page in that space, and then you can pull everything out of that. So lock down the core and you can pull the arms, the head, and the legs out. Once you have that, then you can establish your shadows, your gray areas, and then your bright areas. Come check out the full course at proko.com/marvel, where we teach you penciling, inking, and coloring techniques that will help you bring your art and storytelling to a professional level. Coming up, we'll have more lessons on drawing characters, get into drawing environments, and even go into making comic covers. That's at proko.com/Marvel.